Everywhere you go in Kigali, Rwanda's capital city, you'll hear the same sound. That's because people are building houses, offices, hotels, roads and laying fiber optic cables. While the world economy slows down, one of Rwanda's biggest challenges is how to manage the growing demand for property.
Well, construction has grown at an average of 16% over the years, and we've seen actually that particularly last year it grew at a very large 25%, which is really, really high. But that also has shown that the demand for the construction products and services is very, very high. We know that the real estate sector has been hit in other markets, but we also note that ours is still stably growing, and we also see that investors are looking for where else they can invest that still has you know, a very good demand and a supporting environment, and this is what we're offering as a country.
But this is no surprise. It's all part of Rwanda's Vision 2020 plan. The country's strategy that aims to turn Rwanda's economy into a middle-income country by 2020, achieve a per capita income of $990 a year and an annual growth rate of 7%, transforming this little landlocked country into a competitive regional force. But the implementation of this vision is facing some troubles ahead as the global economy slows.
The Rwandan economy grew by 11.2% last year. But we factored in this economic downturn, and we are projecting that the economy is going to grow around 6%. We are confident that can be higher than that, but we just wanted to be prudent and plan realistically. But as we see figures like in exports, like in tourism, in tourism there is no significant reduction, but for export, for instance, our coffee is being affected somehow, and the mining as well. So we thought it was wise to revise our growth projections accordingly.
They say you can tell how a country runs by its public transport system. Here in Kigali, I can tell you it runs like clockwork. The city has dramatically transformed as the country literally rebuilds itself, offering a number of opportunities in the construction and ICT sectors.
Kigali city during genocide and war was hardly hit, very badly damaged, both in terms of the human loss and also the loss in terms of infrastructure. 15 years on, I'm happy to say that we have achieved quite a great deal. We've made quite a great deal of improvement. First and foremost with security. You can imagine a country that has had war and genocide. 15 years on, we now boast of a very safe city where people can move freely during day and night. And this isn't security in terms of probably lack of crime and harming, but it's like people are living together amicably. Kigali is one of the fastest growing cities in Africa today. Economically, it's very vibrant. It has booming business. We've got investors coming on board, both from within and from without. And we provide with our safety, with our cleanness, with our hospitality, and with our good climate, we are making a landmark in terms of development and in terms of achieving the best that we could.
One of the major challenges in the construction sector is access to finance. And that's where the country's small but growing financial sector comes in. Although financial services only contributes around 5% to the country's GDP, it's been growing at 20% over the last 5 years.
The C market really plays a huge role. Remember, the capital market is always long-term financing. So in Rwanda, what we have heard before is a banking sector to finance real estate, which has been very, very critical, especially when we're talking about, you heard the governor talking about the reduction of liquidity in the market. If we had a very active capital market, which is but no, is young, a market believed to develop in this field, we believe we need to develop new products in real estate industry and the construction. So what we are doing is we can come up with a couple of products like a real estate investment trust. So that's one of our products. We can work in the real estate side and then finance developers, the construction, or everyone who wants to invest in the housing market. So we can really play a huge role. I give you an example. The Rwanda Commercial Bank, back in 2008, they have issued a bond for 5 billion Rwandan francs. They used this money to lend, to finance the mortgages, loans. So this has helped a lot for real estate businesses. So that's we can see the capital market is really key in financing this construction and the real estate industry. Yes.
One of the biggest ways Rwanda plans to meet its development goals is through telecommunications, and already global players are establishing themselves here.
We just got a third operator that came on board, Tigo, and they're joining Rwandatel and MTN that were already on board. Rwandatel has just been bought for about 100 million by Lab Green, and we have Tigo that bought a license for 60 million. So ICT and the telecom business has been a major foreign source for foreign direct investments, and we've just opened an office for the Korea Telecom company. They're looking at supporting some of the projects that we are doing. Essentially right now we are deploying major infrastructure. We're building a backbone that is going to reach the entire country, and in each district we're going to be connecting schools, hospitals, 4 kilometers around the district center. So this is a very exciting and complex project, but we are happy to have partners like Korea Telecom supporting them.
Along with adequate bandwidth, it's also been a challenge for Rwandan companies to overcome perceptions about the country's ICT skills and capacity. But it's all about offering competitive services and products. Gasabo 3D is one of the few companies in the world able to turn 2D drawings into 3D models for engineering projects, and now has clients from the US, Europe and India.
As an outsourcing company, one of the biggest challenges is international marketing. You know, we are located somewhere in Africa, and many international companies don't know us. So international marketing is a huge challenge, and the reputation and the brand is not yet created and recognized. Another biggest challenge is the bandwidth. Because we receive a lot of drawings, when we finish the projects, we need to return them online. It can take several hours. And usually international clients, they are not very patient. They want them to be returned as quickly as possible. But of course, as far as the internet, the bandwidth is concerned, I'm sure the government is working on it also.
Many analysts say the key to Rwanda's growth lies in the region. A member of COMESA and the East African community means businesses have access to a consumer market of over 155 million people. Nakumat, East Africa's biggest retail chain, affirmed the thriving consumer market here in Rwanda, opening a 24-hour retail store in the heart of Kigali.
From a business perspective, we are looking as Nakumat to move into the region, and a 1,000-kilometer journey begins with a single step. So we moved out, and Kigali was ready to happen. I mean, they have perfect security. We don't have to worry so much about cleanliness. I think it's the most cleanest city that I've been to. They're very orderly. It's amazing. Actually, when you look at our recent concept of shopping for 24 hours, they said it couldn't be done in Kigali. It's happening really, and I'm having an average of almost over 500 shoppers, and that's the only ones that I'm able to capture on the tills happening in Kigali in the first 6 months.
For brand managers around the world, it would seem like a daunting task to try and rebrand Rwanda after the 1994 genocide. How do you convince investors not only to put their money into rebuilding the country, but also to invest in sound business ideas? The trick, some might say, is to pick the right investor.
And that's exactly what President Paul Kagame did. In what was probably the biggest turnaround story of the African continent, Kagame started attracting investors from governments, aid organizations, and in particular, private sector players.
Well, I think that they see Rwanda as being different in a way that's pretty striking. The underlying character of the place is so different in terms of honesty, not taking bribes, emphasizing forgiveness, just a lot of things that set the place apart. And I think that people see that as the sort of foundation you need to have a long run, and they don't see that in other places.
Rwanda is well thought of by the donor community, for sure, as being a country that has done well, has used what resources it has received by way of foreign aid wisely, that it has made not just the right overtures and gestures and statements, but has followed up with the right kinds of policies and actions to be well positioned to move into the East African community, which it's now a member of, into the larger trading community in the sub-region and in the world. So by saying that it wants to rebrand itself, by trying to make sure that there is action to support the words and pushing that forward quickly rather than slowly, it's doing the right things to get people to take notice.
The first steps Rwanda took to rebrand itself was focusing on tourism. Rwanda is known as the land of 1,000 hills, and in those hills reside the rare mountain gorillas, who, to say the least, are so popular that now you need to book months in advance to see them.
Tourism is one of the key priority sectors of Rwanda, and this is purely as far back as 2001. The government of Rwanda realized that in order to move forward towards the Vision 2020 of the whole country, the GDP was supposed to grow by $900. And therefore it was very critical to find some priority economic sectors, although everything in Rwanda at the time was a priority. If you go back to our history, 1994, the genocide, we were going to use tourism as a tool for image building. But also, of course, tourism was going to help in reducing poverty in our country, bringing in foreign exchange, and that is really why the government made it as a priority sector. And it's since then proved that it was a good visionary thinking of our leadership, because right now tourism is the #1 foreign exchange earner. Last year we were able to bring in about 987,000 tourists into Rwanda, and injected in the economy about $204 million.
And for Rwanda, it wasn't so much the global economic downturn that caused a dip in tourist arrivals.
If we look at our quarter one is January to March figures. We had, yes, a slight impact in terms of really looking at specific sectors, looking at the tour operators. We had a downturn for about 13% down compared to last year. If you look at some hotels as well, they were like 15% down. Having said that, we have since noticed that what really caused the downturn was more to do with the Congo War. As you know very well, our tourists make their bookings well in advance, and at the time when people who were booking to travel in Q1 normally do it 3 months before or 4 months before, and that's the time when there was a lot of news going around about what was happening in Congo. Now, when you look at the whole sector, we actually did very well. The whole tourism industry in Q1 reflected a 26% increase versus last year, and were able to generate $24 million, and our target was 22 million US dollars.
Another innovative way the country started attracting some positive investor interest was through its unique handcrafts.
Basket weaving, which is a traditional handicraft skill for which Rwanda has been known for hundreds of years. It's not a skill, and the products, the baskets themselves, are not that well known outside Rwanda, but they've been used as dowry gifts, as utilitarian vessels for holding things traditionally in Rwanda, but made to a very high standard with very intricate designs. So there are now firms in Rwanda that are selling those baskets to stores that have international reach.
Handcraft is a special sector because it's mainly rural-based, and it's providing off-farm activities. It's something Rwandans know are best at doing. So focusing on it and adding value on it and increasing or guaranteeing market access is very important.
You may have seen some of these piece baskets on the Oprah Winfrey Show, on display in Macy's department stores, or in the Marie Claire magazine. But when Joy Ndungutse and her sister Janet started Gahaya Links in 2003, they didn't know that pretty soon they'd be exporting over 50,000 baskets to the US and employing around 3,000 women through their cooperative structured basket weaving company.
We started with a few women, and when African Growth came in Act, we wanted really to target that market because, you know, we are a landlocked country, and we felt if we can export to US without paying taxes, then our products can be able to compete in the market. So we did exhibit in the US. I lived in the US for 15 years, so that's why I thought we would do better. I knew a little the culture of the American people, and I thought I would do better in the US, in a country which I lived in and which I understood very well. So what we did was, we tried in different places, but eventually my partner, also my sister Janet, went to US and exhibited in one of the gift shows in New York, and that's where we met Macy's. And the reason why Macy's chose our product, it's because we didn't want people to buy the products because of the story. We wanted to buy the products because they're beautiful and they can be used in their homes, and that's when Macy's saw the product and liked it.
The idea was to help women who were widowed and left vulnerable after the 1994 genocide to generate their own income. As the demand for these baskets grow, the company is working with government to improve capacity.
Rwanda is a landlocked country, and when we export our goods, they reach in Europe when they are a bit expensive than Mombasa, than Mauritius. Another challenge is the high interest rates in the banks. It's a big problem to get a loan with that kind of interest rate. And also we are working with the women, most of them who didn't go to school. It's hard for them to access the money from the bank. So that becomes a big problem too. But, and then on the capacity building, you know, sometimes it's hard to raise money to do the capacity building, except now the government has come in and is helping in capacity building. That has really helped us, and it has raised the production.
Gahaya Links has taken advantage of some of the reforms for women which came about just a decade ago, which allow women to own land and which aim to aid and promote women entrepreneurs. Today, around 41% of businesses are run by women. But this is no surprise, as Rwanda's parliament has the highest percentage of women in the world.
For us here in Rwanda, there has been a deliberate intention to encourage and to facilitate women to take responsibility in all sectors of society, including political and economic responsibility. And the fruits are showing, because when it comes to planning for the country, and if you're talking about democracy, it means you have to bring everybody on board. So the woman's voice and views whether we like it or not, will complement better a man's voice than probably having only men.
But it's really Rwanda's agricultural sector that remains the country's chief focus point for development and innovation. Most Rwandese live in rural areas and depend on subsistence farming for their livelihood. But that doesn't mean that they have to stick to traditional crop production. Meet Raj Radhanathan. He's managing director of Rwanda's only vertically integrated textile company, Utexra. After experiencing severe human and financial losses during the genocide, the company was about to close up shop in 1994.
We had a huge business just before the war and genocide in this country. In 1903, this company had a sales turnover of $20 million. But immediately after the war and genocide, because various factors affected our working, we came down from $20 million to $3.5 million turnover. And the company was heavily losing, and since we had the social obligation of helping the people and retaining the people of the employees of this company, we continued to be in losses for more than 5-6 years. Then now we found that by redesigning our products, redesigning our operations, we can be in profitability. So with that profit, we plowed back and we retained the employment. And now we find that with the plowing back of the profitability, we can generate employment, sustain them, and also create more employment.
Turning the company around was one thing, but then Raj made a remarkable discovery. Rwanda is ideally suited for the production of high-quality silk.
Its uniqueness of Rwanda is its climatic conditions and soil conditions, which are very much suitable for mulberry cultivation. And you know, it resembles southern India, where 80% of mulberry silk produced in India coming from southern India. Since we came from southern India, we realized the similarity of Rwanda to the place where we came from. And there we have already experimented with high growth of mulberry and good production of silk, rearing silkworms and production of silk. We wanted to simulate here, and we found it successful.
This discovery led to Utexra plowing some $5 million into commercial silk fabric production. With the traditional textile market looking unprofitable in the long run as competition from China and India increases, Utexra is looking at opportunities in banana and pineapple manufacturing as well as mosquito net production.
We wanted to do these projects like silk, banana fibers, pineapple fibers and mosquito nets, mainly to create employment in this country. At the same time, when you focus certain products which are going to help the humanity, like malaria, prevention of malaria, that is another philosophical route of choosing the product line. But major thing is we analyzed and found that in sub-Saharan Africa the demand is 300 million nets per annum, whereas the supply is the capacity to produce the nets. The global capacity is less than 100 million and African capacity is less than 30 million. So we found a big gap between demand and supply, and that gave us an idea that it will be an avenue to have a viable industry.
Rwanda is not letting its past dictate its future, but is not forgetting it either. Many say the country's success is due to its sound leadership.
The biggest problem in Africa isn't lack of resources, it's not having the right kind of leadership, and I think that's what's making the difference here. You look at what's happened in the last 15 years, it's just absolutely incredible.
Through good leadership, progressive reforms and policies, Rwanda hopes to skyrocket up the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index.
We have set ourselves a target of what we call the 2-digit ranking for 2010 edition of Doing Business. And for that we have put in place a roadmap which includes mainly a number of reforms in the legal and regulatory framework. We have a number of laws passed by Parliament, including the Companies Act, the law on insolvency, the law on secure transactions, streamlining business registration, and other procedures in land access, in trading across borders, and all across the 10 indicators of the doing business.